So no audience mic is requested. You can keep it now here.
Is it ready to start? Okay.
It's a simple speech. So you just turn it down.
I will prepare you guys for that.
Is it?
Yes.
Online. Good morning, one and all. It is my honor to welcome you all to the Indian National Young Academy of Science Media Meeting and Technical Symposium on empowering youth, developing science and technology in sustainable development. So today we gather here to celebrate a decade of excellence as INYAS marks its 10th year of fostering innovation and scientific advancements. As we convene here today, we acknowledge the remarkable progress INYAS has made in promoting science promotion in the grassroots levels in the nation and in fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing among the young scientists in India and abroad. Over the past decade, INYAS has emerged as a vibrant platform for nurturing talent, fostering interdisciplinary talent, and addressing pressing national and global challenges. This symposium brings together some of the brightest minds in the scientific community to share ideas, insights, and cutting-edge research. Through this gathering, we aim to empower the next generation of scientists to harness the potential of science and technology for sustainable development. The theme of our symposium resonates with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which emphasize the critical role of science and technology in achieving a more resilient and sustainable future. As young scientists, we have the power to drive transformative changes, and we are here to seize this opportunity today. Over the next 3 days, we have curated a rich program featuring 5 technical sessions and 4 satellite sessions. We have also arranged several networking sessions, providing a platform to connect with our peers. As we celebrate INYAS's 10th anniversary, we also recognize the dedication and contribution of our founding members, council, and the entire INYAS community. Your tireless efforts have shaped this organization into a vibrant force of scientific progress. To us, the new members, here's an opportunity to engage, innovate, collaborate, and forge connections that will propel our scientific future journey. Let us work together to harness the power of science and technology for a brighter and more sustainable tomorrow. So without further ado, I would now invite Dr. Anindita Bhadra to deliver the welcome note. Anindita.
Thank you, Ricky. It's a pleasure for me to host this meeting at IISER Kolkata. And first, let me welcome all the members of INYAS, the alumni, and our very honored guests to IISER Kolkata campus on behalf of the IISER Kolkata community and our director, Professor Khare. INYAS is now in its 10th year of existence. So this is a very special mid-year meeting. All the more for me because I've been involved with INYAS since the first day of its inception as its founding chair. And I consider INYAS to be my third baby. So I find myself feeling like a proud mother when I see INYAS grow. When I see INYAS engage in the various activities with young people, not just early and mid-career researchers, but also high school students, middle school students, and PhD scholars and postdocs. So I think we have been living up to the vision that INYAS started with. And it is really a pleasure to have this meeting where we are showcasing the research of the INYAS family in front of not just INYAS, but also to a bigger scientific community, because the whole purpose of having a meeting like this in an institute campus is that the technical sessions can be opened up and our faculty members and our students can come and attend the various lectures which are of interest to them. So it's great that all of you are here with us today. And I would encourage the INYAS members and alumni to not just engage with the participants of the meeting, but also to take this opportunity to walk around our beautiful green campus, to meet our faculty colleagues, to start new networks, new collaborations, and to make complete use of these 3 days that you are here with us. We have tried our best to accommodate you in different lodgings, as you are aware, and I hope that you will also enjoy the catering that we have organized, which of course is multi-cuisine over different meals, but the special attraction is the purely Bengali dinner tomorrow, which I hope all of us are going to join us for, including our invited speakers. So this meeting, as Riddhi said, is based on the theme of the Sustainable Development Goals. And it is imperative that young people take the lead in realizing the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, because we are way behind the target. And it is good to see that there are so many people among the INYAS fraternity who are engaging in research which is relevant to the SDGs. And this meeting is also going to help us learn about each other's works and see how more we can collaborate, network, engage with the SDGs and with each other in the scientific forum beyond all the activities that we do at INYAS for the greater society. So without much ado, I would like to welcome our honored guests to the dais. So I would begin by welcoming Professor Sunil Khare, our director, to come and join us on the podium. Professor Tulsi Rajguru, who is the director of the IISER Center. And Professor Narendra Kumar Mehta, who is Vice President of INSA in Delhi. Council member of INSA, it's a very special visit. Professor Shobhitra Banerjee, who is Professor of Physics and INSA Fellow at IISER Kolkata, will be joining us a little later. He has been engaged in an invigilation duty because we also have our mid-semester exams going on. So we'll keep his chair open for the time being and go on with the program. And I welcome Dr. Nishan Chakraborty, the chair of INYAS, to join us on stage, please. Now, since this is a conference for sustainable development, and in India, we have a ritual of starting a program with something auspicious. Usually it is the lighting of a lamp, but we felt that we would do something in a more sustainable way. So our horticulture department has been very helpful in providing us with 2 freshly planted saplings, which we would request our honored guests to water as a gesture of starting something sustainable. So if you would please come up. So these saplings will then be planted on our campus with the boards once they are.
Yes. Great idea.
So we now have done something which is for the future. And I hope that years later, these will grow up into beautiful trees, which will give shade to future members and alumni of INYAS who might come back here, or their students who might come back here for some future meeting. So with that, we can start the formal session with the addresses, and I hand over to Rithi.
Thank you, Anamita. So I would now invite Dr. Nishan Chakraborty to enlighten us on the success and future plan of INYAS. Nishan, please.
For the next.
Thanks.
So very warm welcome to everyone. It's not really a very bright sunny day today, but I'm sure this meeting is going to enlighten us a lot. So first, I would like to welcome our distinguished guests, our chief guest, Professor Sunil Khare, Director, IISER Kolkata. Thank you so much, sir. To everyone from IISER Kolkata who has allowed us and given us this opportunity to host this event here. Professor Dhanushri Shahadatta, Director SN Bose, NCBS Kolkata. Professor Narendra Mehra, our Vice President INSA. Thank you, sir, to make it all the way from Delhi just for this event. Professor Soumitra Banerjee is yet to be here. We were also expecting Professor Gadadkar as well to join us. Initially, he had mentioned that it might be possible for him to come in person, and that would have been wonderful when if he could have shared his experiences with INYAS, especially he being the founding president of INSA at that point when INYAS started. He then also had mentioned that he probably will be able to join us virtually, but again, he has.
Right. I'm trying to. Yeah. I can actually take the following. Also.
Yeah, so he did mention that he probably would be able to join us in at least through Zoom, but again, he got an emergency appointment somewhere, so he is not able to join us. But I think he has shared his message. So Aninita, you can mention that message to us. So I'm here just to give you an overview of what we have achieved so far in the last 10 years since we started our journey. So with a humble beginning with around 20 members to begin with, we have now grown to a bigger community of presently having 114 members and more than 70 alumni. And we are really fortunate that we have many of our alumni joining us for this meeting this time. So thank you everyone for taking time out of your busy schedules and coming over for this program. If you look at our distribution, we have a pan-India presence, as you can see, with members coming from every nook and corner of the country. It's a very stringent eligibility criteria and a selection process that is followed, and only then we are able to select our members, usually around 20 or less than 25 members per year. So we have an upper limit of 120 as set for by our INSA Council guidelines. So not more than around 20-25 members each year. Within these members as well, we have been able to have our presence in such a way that we have got 10 zones across the country, each representing different disciplines of science. We are actively trying to promote gender representation, equal gender and equity representation. We are promoting representation of disciplines as well as per the number of applications. If you look at the competition process, we have a less than 10% chance. So you can imagine how difficult it is during the selection process for all the members of the committee. So if you see the kind of activities that we have been doing, we do a lot of public engagement and scientific outreach, where we try to reach out to as many as people of the country, not only in the bigger cities, but also in the rural areas as well. We do a lot of capacity building workshops. In fact, I'll mention about the recently conducted workshop for women in scientific domain, which was conducted last month in IIT Bombay, which is again a part of our routine activities that we have been doing. Then we are doing a lot of global activities together with other young academies. INYAS is also a member of the International Science Council. We do a lot of mentorship programs for people from diverse fields and different disciplines. And we also have a lot of interdisciplinary research initiatives as well. So if we gradually go through the timeline of INYAS, it started all, I think, in December 2014. But the first meeting happened in 2015 February. And that's why we conduct our general body meetings in the month of February. So that's when the initial cohort of 20 people joined hands and started building things up. Then during the pre-COVID era, we definitely were able to consolidate on the initial beginnings that we had. Then COVID hit, of course, like every other society, we were also struck with how do we move forward. But of course, with an able leadership, we were able to have a lot of activities that we managed to conduct online. And again, wherever we tried to and were able to reach out, we did manage to do that. Post-COVID, we ensured that our activities are now not restricted only to the online presence, but we move again back to the community and start working more and more with the people at the grassroots level. So our activities now started showing presence both in person and online as well. And here we are in 2024 now, celebrating our 10th years of celebrations. So if you look at the overall activities that we are conducting, we have certain flagship programs. For example, this RU setup, which is basically a training program for rural teachers. Then there is a post-PhD research initiatives awareness program known as Prayojan, and then the Women in Scientific Domain. We do a lot of outreach activities, as I mentioned. So remote area lectures are one aspect, but in addition, we do a lot of scientific awareness campaigns. We have started a few competitions for PhD students. There is something known as Saransh, which is a 3-minute PhD thesis competition where the students are required to explain their research work to the masses in general in a common language. Then we have a national competition for research excellence where students again need to explain it in writing in a short form and an abstract, and then a presentation is also required. We do take a lot of microscopy images, simulation work. So SciArt imaging competition is one aspect where students are encouraged to showcase such activities that they have been doing. We also ensure, as a part of being INYAS members and members of the Indian National Young Academy, we are encouraging publications in Indian journals. So we have been publishing special issues in various journals from India. So we have published quite a bit in the proceedings of INSA, Resonance, and other journals as well. In terms of scientific meetings, certainly we conduct our general body meeting, which is more of administrative and scientific event. But in addition, this media meeting has become an integral component of our activity, where it's more and purely technical discussion that we are having, and in terms of the technical sessions that we are conducting. And this time we are also having a lot of satellite sessions where we are going to discuss different aspects of science. We have conducted the National Frontiers of Science in the past, and we want to do more of such activities. And then, of course, we do take part in a lot of symposiums and conferences across the country. We have been publishing a lot of white papers as well. For example, there was a publication that came out reflecting on the impact of COVID in our PhD students. We have been working on a lot of other white papers presently, and some of them are in the manuscript forms, reaching out for publications as well. We are becoming parts of the national task forces, and of course, international collaboration. We are actively participating with the Global Young Academy activities. Even our GYA founding chair was Anindita, and our present co-chair is also with us here. So he is an INYAS former chair and present co-chair, Professor Chandrasekhar Sharma. We are also working with IAP, but of course, we want to increase our associations with other young academies. So this time, we have proactively set up a session where we are bringing in the Asian Young Academies together during this meeting itself. So I mentioned about RU setup, where we are conducting a lot of activities across the different paths and specifically trying to train rural teachers. And this time we have tried to bring in rural students as well from the schools. As I mentioned, Prayojan is an initiative for post-PhD research, academia, and industry opportunities. So this year's Prayojan was a big success. As you can see, the representation of women turned out to be much more compared to men. So the feedback from the participants was exceptional. The Wings workshop, as you can see here, is the image of, we selected 24 women from across the country who are in scientific domains and trained them in capacity building and work in industry neutral growth skills. So the general body meeting is a meeting where we are inducting the members. Then we discuss about the future roadmap. Certain decisions that need to be taken are taken up during those general body meetings. We do a lot of networking and policy suggestions. The media meeting is something that we are conducting for the past 3 years in person, and previously we have done that in an online mode. As I mentioned, we are also a part of some of the inter-academy partnership projects. So we were fortunate to get 2 projects from IAP. One is for the scientific diplomacy project. And then we have another one known as Rescue, which is against the predatory publication. So we actually have one session dedicated for this project as well in our INYAS media meeting this time. And as I mentioned, these are just showcasing some of the activities that were conducted over the last year, where we actively participated during the S20 and Y20 events during the G20 summit last year and the G20 activities conducted by India. So I already mentioned about the INYAS competitions. Some other activity images are being shown here. If we talk about the future roadmap of INYAS, we are adopting a strategy of add-on, amplify, and advance. So whatever we have been doing, of course, we want to extend it. But in addition, we want to amplify our mentorship programs, research funding support. We want to voice our opinions in different communities. We want to engage more internationally with other organizations. We want to conduct interdisciplinary research symposia, and to extend our work and join hands with policy briefings. We want to work with the government organizations more actively, try to bring in the voice of the young scientists. So of course, nothing would have been possible without our INYAS members and our INYAS CC. And of course, INSA being our mentor. So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, welcome once again for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Nishant, for taking us through the path that INYAS has traveled in the last decade. So today we have with us Professor Shunin Khare, Director, Indian Institute of Science Education and Research, Kolkata, as our chief guest. Sir, I request you to come up to the dais and address our audience. So please.
Audible? Am I audible now? Yes. Yeah, very good morning. And it's great pleasure for me, Professor Mehra, who is Vice President of INSA, and the distinguished guest here, Professor Nishant Chakraborty from IISER, the Chairman of INYAS, Professor Tanushri Das. I'm sorry for she is director of SM Bose Institute, and Dr. Anindita Bhadra, Professor Sonak Banerjee, my friend and previous director of the institute, distinguished guests of the dais, participants of INYAS, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here. And we feel very privileged that we are hosting this, INYAS mid-year meeting, which is very prestigious for the nation. And I think we look forward to host more such meetings for INYAS if we can contribute this way. As I heard from Professor Chakraborty, INYAS now is 10 years old, but the work looks like more than 10 years they have done. Their flagship programs like Priogen, Wisdom, Review Setups, and I think another which I heard was Behind the Lens, or this is another program which are very popular programs, and that way you are contributing a lot for the country. And in a way, INYAS is creating the research landscape for the country, creating a knowledge base to face the current challenge, and nurturing the young researchers to meet those challenges through their science and research activities. We at this stage globally and nationally feel lots of challenges. So one of the theme meets that challenge. The theme is sustainable development, and this is one of the challenge we all face today. Then is the climate, so sustainable climate, which also falls in this, the clean energy. These are the issues in healthcare. I think they're unprecedented challenges well before any time before. In healthcare, we have recently seen the COVID just now, but we are aware that not only COVID has gone, but the viral diseases are still at the forefront. The mutated viruses, you have to deal with them in coming years. The multi-drug resistance, which is predicted to be a global phenomenon and affecting us very badly, is another challenge we all feel now. We must be prepared for it. Another thing which is coming up to study the gut microbiome. It is said that most of the diseases now emanating from the gut microbiome disturbances. So these are some of the issues. I think I'm sure your INYAS and the members will be addressing those in coming years. Climate change, you see the kind of various disturbances all across the globe in the climate are seen now. People were saying about the global warming initially, now it is coming to the fore. We have to deal with them. The increasing ozone, now it's a reality. We have to capture carbon dioxide level. We have to see that it is reduced in a green fashion, how we can capture that CO2 which is affecting us, and many more things to make the climate kind of stable. Sustainable development itself is a very big theme, and this is a theme of United Nations also. And I'm proud to say that this institute also has, lots of activities in sustainable development. I think my fellow colleagues will tell you about those efforts. But one of the part is clean energy, actually. So I think there is a focus of Government of India also, and there is a global focus that we should go for a clean energy. Hydrogen is seen as the next generation fuel, lots of activity on hydrogen and biohydrogen. Also the biomass, complete pyrolysis for syngas and other efficient fuels. These are alternative fuels, solar energy. These are the challenging areas to compensate the fast depleting, petrol reserve. We have to have the sustainable energy. Those are the things. Further to that, the new emerging technology, we have to handhold with them and try to use them for meeting these challenges. So we have the tools now, the artificial intelligence and machine learning. Can we use them effectively to predict some of these changes and help to mitigate some of these issues? We do have now what we call quantum at the forefront. So quantum research, Government of India has a big initiative on quantum. I'm sure some of the INYAS members will be now uploading themselves on the quantum research. These are some of the medical devices. We do need handheld devices. We do need for the sustainable development to address the food and nutritional challenges, which is very unique to every country and specifically to our country in different regions. So can we utilize these available tools now? We have gene editing in hand now. It's a common technique now. We have gene silent rRNA, that kind of small RNA things, which can be used in a very effective manner. So what I'm saying, though there are challenges, but there are tools also available with us. Only thing is how we harness or leverage those strength of emerging technologies to address this thing. INYAS can also address Industry 4.0, which is actually again a dream for everyone for the country. So with these, I think these are the things. I'm sure you will be deliberating on these issues in these 2 days. As about IISER Calcutta, I'm very proud to say that we were established in 2006. Few years later, we got this campus. It took some time for us. So though we look 18 years old, but actually we are not. We started with the campus little later, and we have a strength of about 129 faculty members in various disciplines. We have physical science. So matching with the, if you see, we are matching with the INYAS. We have physical sciences, we have mathematical sciences, we have biological sciences, we have chemical sciences. And our presence there, earth sciences also. And our presence is very strong. We are second in this country as per Nature Index in the chemical sciences, fourth in the physical sciences, fifth in the biological sciences, which is a reflection of the research quality we are producing. So that way I'm proud of saying that you find here a good collaboration. We are geared. And some of the technologies which have been developed by us or where we are intervening related to those challenges are immunotherapy. We have designed some antibodies to address the cancer issues. We have developed a process for taking out stem cells from the dental pulp. Snake venom, snake bite is a major issue in Eastern, and snakes are also, different kind of poison. So we have developed an anti-snake, antidote detection, and this is being produced now from this institute in collaboration with AIMS Kalyani. We are actively collaborating. We also have some leads in N-stapled peptides for antimicrobial, and also some marine actinomycetes molecule to deal with the MDR. These are some of the leads in healthcare sector. In the sustainable environment, we have a strong earth science department. As I said, they have isotope based studies, and also they can, predict the earth activities away before actually it becomes a problem for all of us. So also in the physics, we are into quantum, I think, and other quantum applications. In the chemical sciences, we have a strong group in polymer. We have developed solid oxide fuel cells. This institute has also developed the anode-free battery with the gel polymers from the chemical sciences, and many more. I think I'm not, but one thing which again immediately comes to my mind, we are developing the application of AI in legal system with the National University of Judicial Sciences, Bengal. We also offer the courses for that. So I think we are doing all right in each front where the intervention is required. So I would like to invite the collaboration with INYAS and these young minds, because you are the one who will carry the country forward. We are gone. We are mostly spent forces, now just facilitating you to do the best out of your aspirations and for the country. But I'm sure that you are the one who will carry the country forward and meet these challenges. But to that extent, I invite all of you to collaborate with us, and we will be very happy if we can work together and you can join a network to address some of the issues. Okay. And I'm sure in these 3 days, probably 3 days program with this green campus and very much sought after Bengali food. I also came here 3 months ago, a 4th month running. I started having love for the Bengali food. So you will see that, and as he mentioned, there is special, cuisine for that. I hope you'll enjoy this green and serene environment, which is very much away from the city. It's very different. So your stay will be comfortable. The sessions will be productive, and you will forge the collaborations in these 3 days. So I wish you all this in this conference. Once again, for being here, and thank you very much for your efforts to give us this chance to organize this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I would now request Nishant to please come and felicitate us.
I'm also very happy to tell that I see some of the faces of my old colleagues from IT and some of my students are also there. So it was great to see all of them here.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. We have with us Professor Tanushri Shaha Dashgupta, Director, SMBO's National Center for Basic Sciences, Kolkata, as our distinguished guest. I would now request you, ma'am, to come and share your insights.
Very good morning. And I must thank actually the organizers for thinking of inviting me here. Of course, I know this institute for a long time, but I have never been, been any event of INYAS. So for me, it's eye-opening because the young people, as you said, they always think in a different way. See, our inauguration was in a different way. They think differently. We need new ideas. We need new vibes because this is Bengal. So I cannot, resist myself quoting from Tagore, who said, "Ore nobin ore kacha, athmarader ghamere tui bacha." Many are not Bengali, and my translation will be, of course, really a failed attempt, but still I would try. So it just says the young, the green, you give a blow to the system who are almost dead, and by that you make them alive. So we were just said, we just heard from the director IISER that our days are almost gone. We are there to facilitate something. You are our hope. You are the new light shine to we look forward. And I was really, really, impressed by the presentation that was made. I didn't had so much idea that INYAS is doing so much. The only few suggestions I have is that, of course, this is a unique, venture of INSA. I don't know when the idea was conceived. They might have some great ideas in mind, and this is a brilliant idea. But we also have other academies, and at least the Bangalore Academy also has the Young Associate Program. So while internationally you are connecting to other academies, try to also connect to them so that your pool becomes bigger. And India always has been very individualistic. All our excellence, all our awards are very individualistic. But it is a time for collaboration and networking. Gone are those days where individual excellence is valued. It is still valued, but to make a bigger impact, you need to make networking. So in that way, INYAS is doing exactly what should be done. I'm just requesting you to make the pool bigger, because without networking, you definitely cannot make any a breakthrough, because all the fundamental discoveries probably are over. You are now in the regime where you are trying to bank on those fundamental discoveries and taking the thing forward. And there, many of these any of the high energy paper, you may have one whole page of the list of authors. So you see, the world has changed. This is not very different from the time of S.N. Bose, the institute I come from. Well, it was a single author paper. So gone are those days. We have to indeed think in a very different way. Please bring in the societal aspect, which I think you are doing a lot on that, because after all, we are doing the science with taxpayers' money. We have a responsibility indeed to tell the common people what great we are doing with their money. So it needs to be said. I see you are doing different kinds of outreach program. Just try to think how you can strengthen it in somewhat better way. Of course, there can be ideas borrowed also from other parts of the world, because it has been stressed again and again. We need to tell these people what great we are doing. I think it was mentioned about quantum. Next year, 2025, is the year of quantum, as you know. So can INYAS do anything about it? For example, as a part of a institute which is built in the name of S.N. Bose, in whose name half of the fundamental particles of this world, the bosons, are known, and which started the beginning of quantum mechanics. That time, quantum mechanics still was not very much there. It was in the process of making. Can INYAS do anything about it? For example, the National Council of Scientific Museum, they are thinking of putting some kind of mobile museum so that they go and tell people what is quantum. First of all, the whole idea of quantum is complex. It's almost absurd. But this explaining such an absurd thing to a common people, I have even heard people saying, these days we put E in front of everything. E-commerce, E-something, E-form. Future is start with Q. So everything becomes Q-commerce and Q. They have no idea what they are talking about. And very often, even for the science journalism, they don't really have very good idea what quantum is. Many people have come to me and said, Madam, थोड़ा समझाइए वो क्या क्वांटम है, वो बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स है, मुझे पता भी नहीं है वो क्या है. Because so then you have a responsibility. If you are really talking about quantum, if government is putting such a big investment, go and tell common people what is quantum. Try to think of in an innovative way to explain this. And 2025 being the year of quantum, try to think in an innovative way. For example, whether you can really handhold with the National Council of Scientific Museum. In our country, I find great initiatives are there, but they are all in bits and pieces. They don't talk to each other. That's the real missing link. Excellent. I was absolutely impressed because I am now in their council, how much they are doing. People don't even know, what they are doing. You all know BITM. You don't know CRTL, which is actually the part of National Council of Scientific Museum, and they are giving all these instruments to BITM. So I would really say that really look around. There are lots of opportunities. Our days are gone. We are old. We don't have enough drive, enough energy to drive this entire thing. Future is in your hand. So please make use of, there are lots of things in your own country. So, of course, we have to look outwards. We have to have global partnership. But within your country, have we really done all the networking that is needed? So please, take a step back and think about it. Connect to all the academics, connect to all possible organization in terms of outreach, make it effective, because I feel at the end of the day, we have a societal responsibility. That's, as a scientist, probably our biggest responsibility. Of course, there will be breakthroughs that will be made, but it should be taken to the common people to make them understand what exactly we have done with their money. So with that, I would finish my whatever speech I'm supposed to give, but I'm absolutely fascinated by the session you have put together and very futuristic, because you have a session on startup, you have a session on green energy, you have session on materials, which are really all the sessions I have seen their titles and the focus most appropriate. So I'm absolutely sure you will have brilliant trainings. I wish all success.
Thank you, ma'am. I will now request Anindi to come up on the dais for the presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Anamita. So now it's time for the formal release of our publications. So for that, I will request our editors and Nishant and Anindita to please come up on the dais.
Yeah, so we have three publications.
So please put your hands together as we unveiling the publication. We have three. The first one, anyone who 2024. The second one is the half-yearly newsletter. And finally, we have our annual report.
Yeah, members included on this.
Okay. And if there is a soft copy,
The brochure is also there in the pen drive that. The brochure is already there in the pen drive.
Oh, sure. So I request our dignitaries to join us in the audience chairs. We have Professor Narendra Kumar Mehra, Vice President, Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi, and he has joined us here as our distinguished guest in spite of his busy schedule. Sir, I would request you to kindly address our.
Thank you very much. That I very outside must thank the Indian National Science, Indian National Young Academy of Sciences. We consider them as the youthful wing of the Indian National Science Academy. I'm so glad that they're 10 years old. Now they have learned to walk, and very soon I think they will go into their adolescence phase. I'm very happy to come to this campus. This is so beautiful campus. I'm not used to this kind of campus. I lived in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, where every inch of the land has gone. Even our houses are going to be now demolished because the hospital has grown. Institute was built in 1956. At that time, the land that we acquired, everybody said, "Oh, coffee, coffee, it's such." And now we had to open our National Cancer Institute in Jhajjar, about 90 kilometers away. So when I come to a campus like this, and I go to maybe ICGB in Delhi or JNU, I get, this is something khali. We're used to so much of activity going on over there. Not that the activity is not here, but a lot of good science goes on. I'm so glad that they have invited me here, and I was very keen to come because I wanted to understand the kind of activities that they do, although they do come every year and they tell us, but there is always a discussion in our minds, how much should we give them annually? Are they using it properly or not? So I think that was one of my aims, hidden aims, to see what are the activities we do. I would have expected the hall to be even fuller than this. So make sure the next time there is more audience in person. There's no substitute for in-person conferences, although COVID has given us this tool, whether COVID or not, the tool would have anyway come, the online, the Zoom meetings and all. There are a lot of people, they don't want to travel, they want, but there's no substitute for in-person meeting. Meetings like this of the younger people must be done in person. I'm glad that you have kept the title as Empowering Young. I saw from Nishant's talk a lot of activities that you do, even though your number is very small. If you present this to an international audience, they will say, oh my God, 1.4 billion population, you have only 114 members. I think this membership has to grow even more because we are 1.4 billion population. We are growing and we are getting recognized as a science-loving country around the world. This is a change that I see. Now, I started my science in the AIMS in the early 70s when leprosy was very high. And I'm sure that the youth today doesn't even know that what is leprosy. There were, out of the world, 10 to 12 million cases of leprosy around the world, 5 to 7 million were in India. You go to any crossing in Delhi, there would be a leper who would come around and ask for some, all those things have changed. Not only all the things have changed, but the leprosy, the disease is going down. Not that it has been eradicated. In the books, it is eradicated because the eradication is when the incidence falls below 1 per 100,000, and that is true. But what is more important, the bacillary load has gone down, and that is very important. You do have tuberculosis form of leprosy. We are even now seeing new cases. But I'm saying the change that I saw in the health field. In AIMS, the only thing that we used to talk about was infections. And when we turned the last decade, the last century, as you know, a lot of money was spent for the human genome. We were trying to understand the genomics, the structure of the genomics. And I never, at that time, realized the importance of IIT next door to us, IIT Delhi. And today, the need is that the AIMS, the medical institutions, and the IITs have to come together. I think it's very important. IISER, for example. I have seen IISER getting conceptualized in front of me. I used to be part of one or two of the groups over there. And today I see IISER everywhere doing remarkable work. And Madam mentioned that time has changed from fundamental science to now what we call translational research. There is a need for translational research. And this, the youth have to take. We have gone to the next step. Our roles have changed. I've not become old. My roles have changed. I might become a mentor for you. I might become an advisor for you because I have been on this earth for maybe 3 or 4 decades more than you are, and tolerated a lot of the vicissitudes of life. So the life has taught us some experiences and all that. So I thought I'd give you a little bit, some glimpses of the Indian National Science Academy. It was established in 1935. All of you as youth who take up science, I should actually congratulate you because taking up science is not easy. Not many people do. But once you take up, one of your goals should be you want to become fellow of the Indian National Science Academy. And we were inducting very few fellows, even today in a country of 1.4 billion, if you look at the scientific institutions, the numbers have grown, at least the aims have grown from only 1 to 23 now. Even then, we have only 1,000 or 1,050 fellows. So we established 2 more categories. One was the INSA young associates, the young associates below 40 years of age. But even that was not giving us enough sort of room to really establish the INSA associate fellows. There's a people below 50 years of age, because most of the fellows that you sort of enroll are beyond 50 years of age. This is just a general cover. I'm not saying that you don't make any fellows. This year we made fellows who were actually between 45 to 50. And we want fellows to become at a younger age. I myself became at a very young age. So I think there's no bar that we will not make anybody as a fellow who's below 50 years of age. But then you are looking for excellence. You want to make sure that the excellent has to be taken up at a much younger age. We've also started since last year, or since this year, one other scheme. We thought it is very important to encourage our women scientists. So we have started INSA Women Associate Fellows. INSA Women Associate Fellows, we're going to take 70 per year. Our plan is to in the next 5 years, we take about 350 fellows, and they could create another organization like INYAS, who could encourage the women scientists. Mind you, the women scientists do extremely well. The problem is we do see in the schools and in the colleges, in science, a lot of women, but as you go up, they tend to fall off, This is something that we have to improve. That how can we really encourage women scientists? Because, and the male scientists should not take an offense to that, but what I feel is that the sincerity that I see in the women scientists is much higher than in the males. They have more distractions. But women scientists also do very, very well. They have their own problems, in particularly young age, and we have to address those, and we have to encourage. They need our encouragement. So we created this. This year we have actually taken out the whole almost 70 inside young ones. What we've also done, in addition to the 10 sectional committees that we have on physics, chemistry, and health sciences, mathematical sciences, and others. Last year, we created 2 more. One is called the Science for Society. Again, a mention was made, whatever science we do, we must connect it to the society. And there I want to give you one incident that during COVID pandemic, when the pandemic was really at the peak, and we had no way to find, no way to think, where are we going? The whole world was in dilemma. By the way, that coming together of the scientists globally created a vaccine which was available in 10 months' time. Today, we still don't have any antiviral drug, but there's the vaccine. If you look at the history of vaccines, the median time it takes about 10 years. And the minimum time to took was for MMR, the vaccine took about 4.5 years. And here, we made a vaccine in 10 months' time. And at that time, I used to write very often for the Hindustan Times as an article on host immunity and vaccines. And I walked over from my house to the construction area, where a lot of labor there are and just talking to them, hey, what is the solution for this pandemic? We don't find any solution. So nobody will answer. But one guy came forward and said, sir, the answer will come from science. That really was awakening. It's a science for society. We need to do science for society. And last year when India was the chair of the G20 and India, and we were doing the Science 20 from the Indian National Science Academy, we kept one theme as science for society. So we have, since last year, created 2 more sectional committees, one for science for society, somebody who may not be doing this fundamental science or natural sciences, but has contributed significantly towards connecting science to society, should be also inducted as a fellow of INSA. And the other, we created another sort of group, which is Science in Transition. A lot of people science in transition. People like Sudha Narayan Murthy and many other people, I think they've done exceedingly well. They should also be recognized. They may get whatever awards from here and there, but they're getting recognition from the Indian National Science Academy is very important. By the way, we have three big science academies in India, but INSA is the internationally adhering academy. So I look after the international affairs and a lot of activities that we do. Just in the month of September, we did one activity on September 1 to 3, where we were discussing and we wanted to sort of have a debate on science policy futures of Asia. And there we, of course, invited our INYAS people and all, and I'm so happy that Chandra Sharma is also there. He is now in the global Young Academy of Sciences. When I started looking into the INYAS, Chandra was the president of INSA, and you had started at that time lecture series. They were right in the peak of COVID. I was probably the second or third speaker. I would urge you to sort of, keep that going, because call one big scientist from within India or even abroad, because you're going to do it online, and let it be on the YouTube and everybody should see that. Because one of the things that I experienced in my whole scientific life was that our young scientists or our mid-career or even senior scientists, the opportunities of interaction are much lower than your Western counterparts. After all, today, time has come when our science and our scientists should compete with the best in the world. Why would an Indian scientist going out to US or Europe earning a Nobel Prize over there and can't do it over here? So one of the activities is that you need to increase our interaction. So please keep doing that. The other, I sort of made a note in my notes over here as a suggestion to you, that do these science activities also for the schools, for the children of 10 to 12 years, 10 to 12 class. Teach them or engage them, interact with them on the benefits of science. We have started in INSA, and I would invite anybody where we want our fellows or anybody else want to go to the rural colleges, rural schools, and gather together about 1,000 students from 8-10 schools over there, talk to them. And this is from class 10 to 12. Because the feeling is the youth of today is not getting attracted to science as much as he wants to go to MBA or the commerce and things of that sort. Because they see that you do graduation and then 2-3 years of this, and then you're starting to earn. Whereas in my own field, doctor field, you become 30 years of age before you really become eligible for a faculty job. So I think it is very important for us, and I myself have done that exercise. I belong to Amritsar, so I went to the villages around Amritsar and gathered together. This is many years ago, about 15 years ago. I was surprised with the level of understanding these rural students had. But very few of them raised their arms that they would like to go to science. And today I hope the thing has changed. But many of them, they said that, I said, what deficiency you feel when you compare yourself to the children of major cities and all? There's a lack of internet, lack of those facilities and all. And hopefully those are improved. I'm talking of a decade and a half ago. But I think they are the ones that need to be targeted. Or you go to the government schools in big cities as well. And the INYAS could actually take up that as an exercise. And in various parts of India, government schools don't have to go to private, public, private schools where anywhere rich children come. They have all those kind of things. Go and talk to them and make sure that you make them interested towards coming to science. I think these are a few sort of remarks I wanted to make. And then the other thing I wanted to just tell you that in INSA, we have also established a policy center since last year. IIT Delhi has a very important policy center And we want to, because today everybody around the world is talking about science policy and policy forward. So this is another area, and I was very happy to see that in your own group, INYAS also has that policy science, competitions, international collaboration. International collaboration is something very important. And I went to Arizona in 2022 for the meeting of the IAP, the Inter-Academy Partnership. And there I saw that the young academies of various countries were there, except us. I was feeling a little lonely there, you know. And a couple of people come to me and they said, oh, you know, INSA is very good. You're a huge country. We would have loved to have your young scientists over here also. I came back. Rajendra Dhaka was the president of INYAS. Kahan ho, Rajendra? I said, आज मैं तुम्हारे कान खींचने आया हूँ. I want you to write some projects for IAP. And they did that. I interacted with them. Two projects written successfully, sort of given by them, $20,000 each. I think this is something that you need to increase. With that, your visibility internationally would actually increase. And you will see there are a lot of people around the world who will come forward to support you. And make sure that you develop very useful project there. Do studies which we call fundamental science, or in the community, science for society. What is the status in your country? What is the status around this? These are the kind of things that they will, like that. So those kind of things should also be increased by INYAS. I'm sure other way you're doing very well. One other last thing, I see that you are represented by all sciences except health. There are very few people in health. We are, ek do hai main janta hu, I know. But there, if you count, there were about 3 or 4 people or members of your INYAS. This year, I was looking for people whom we wanted to recommend for what is called the young physician leaders. And it was very difficult for us to sort of find that out. So we eventually had 2 people and make sure that they become members of INYAS as well. So increase them as well. You know, these young doctors, they're very busy and they think, पता नहीं इनके पास जाएंगे तो ये क्या science की बात करेंगे. बोलो भाई आओ आप भी हमारे पास आओ. Please come and join us. So increase that number as well. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that this kind of conference has been done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would request you to please stay on the dais. I request Chidosri to come up for the felicitation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chidosri. We also have with us Professor Shumitra Banerjee, Professor, Institute of Science, Education and Research. I now request Professor Banerjee to address our audience. So please.
Being in the company of younger people make old people like us go down the memory lane, obviously. I recall almost 40 years back when I got the first job as a lecturer in IISER. I went to touch the feet of every teacher who has ever taught me. I don't know whether people do that these days or not. But I remember I went to Professor Shankar Sen, who taught us at the undergraduate level. He told me, Shumitra, don't expect a smooth ride. Every profession has ups and downs.
so will be in your life also. But remember one, if you are good, good in the real sense, not for the show of it, then nobody can stop you. But if you are not good, nobody can help you. So that has been with me, and that word of advice I'd like to convey to the younger people. I don't know, the landscape of science, doing science, has changed over the years. Our previous generation did wonders with nothing. Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray didn't even have a proper fume hood. Yet he published more than 20 papers in Nature. Jagadish Chandra Bose, C.V. Raman, they made their own instrument by their own hands and did wonders. The first cloud chamber outside Europe was made by Professor V.M. Bose in Kolkata. So they started the whole thing and did it with a bang. But later, when they did it, it was basically the fun of doing science and also mixed with nationalism. We have to establish India as a power in the world of science. That determination drove. And it is this that I'm seeing sort of diluted these days. And so I'm making an appeal to you. Nowadays, many people see science just as a career, as a gateway to a career. And in order to further a career, whatever has to be done, they do. Please do not do science from that perspective, because then you will never be good. You may get awards and laurels, but I have seen people with awards and laurels, people do not have high idea about them. Ultimately, what matters is how much have we contributed to science? How much have we made India proud by the science that we do? And there is a yardstick of doing that beyond those measures, impact factors, and things like that. So the point is that the landscape has changed. When we started doing our science, there was no pressure to publish, practically not. And now, what you experience right from the beginning is the pressure to publish. That is a great diluting factor. Pressure to publish. Do science for the fun. Do science because you have question in mind. Do science because you have a fire burning in your belly, not because of this number, that number. Then you will do low quality science. No. I mean, in fact, there has been a very nice publication by INSA on this particular issue, the problems of being guided by impact factors. The last thing that I would like to point out is that the issue of ethics in science, the ethical conduct in science, that is also being diluted now. And in a very worrisome, in various areas you will find scientific misconduct are happening, and sometimes these are becoming sort of, people think it's okay. No. Since I'm speaking to the younger generation, I have to make this point. No. You have to do science with the highest possible standard of ethics. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I will now request Nishant for the welfare. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Nisha. So now we will move on to the keynote lecture of the day. And this will be delivered by our distinguished guest, Professor Narendra Kumar Mehra, Vice President, Indian National Science Academy, New Delhi. So I know, sir, do not need an introduction, but as customary, I would like to introduce him briefly. Professor Mehra is the Honorary Emeritus Scientist of Indian Council of Medical Research, former Dean and National Chair of All India Institute of Medical Science and Vice President of Indian National Science Academy. He is an internationally acclaimed expert in the area of transplant immunology and clinical immunogenetics, and is vastly experienced in policy, education promotion, and strategic planning for science. He is a fellow of Indian National Science Academy, National Academy of Sciences, National Academy of Medical Sciences, fellow of the World Academy of Sciences, and honorary fellow of the Royal College of Physicians of UK. He has over 100 scientific awards and academic honors to his credit, including the coveted Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award of the CSIR, the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Prize of ICMR for Excellence in Medical Research, and Tata Innovation Fellowship of Government of India, to name a few. The French government conferred on him the Chevalier of the National Order of Merit. He has published over 480 research papers. And with that brief introduction, I would now request Professor Mehra to deliver his lecture. And we are already running short of time. So, sir, can you please restrict your talk to 20 minutes? Thank you, sir. The stage is all yours.
I will try and finish in 19 minutes. I was very keen to tell you a little bit about the twin crises that you have around you of climate change, of pollution, and what we call AMR, antimicrobial resistance. This is all going to impact your health in time soon. 19 minutes is enough time for me to make sure that I make my point. Thank you. These are the humanities challenges for the next half a century. You see each one of them, and many of you are working in several of them. I've highlighted a few that are going to be the major theme of my talk: climate change, environmental pollution, and the holistic health. Holistic health was, by the way, also part of our team for the Science 20 during last year D20. This is a summary from the global polycrisis storm from the World Economic Forum, global risk landscape. And it shows you on this side everything, the risk in terms of economy, health, food, international security, energy, and everything. And this was also part of the main theme of the BRICS meeting that I attended in Pretoria last year. And this is the summary. The impact is in terms of environmental, financial, economic, social, societal, technological, and things of that sort. But at the core of all this crisis are the human beings. And there's a growing cancer risk. Everybody has felt that there's a growing cancer risk. There's growing pollution in the air. And the other very important issue, the AMR, the antimicrobial resistance. Somebody falls sick in the house, everybody in the house becomes a doctor and starts giving antibiotics. Now you see, human health is determined by the interaction of our environment with the genome, epigenome, microbiome, all of which shape the transcriptomic, proteomic, and the metabolomic landscape of the tissues and cells. So the climate change and antibiotic resistance is a deadly combination. These two intertwined global challenges. And it's very important understanding of how AMR evolved along with climate change. they're interconnected with each other, and I never thought they are. But now there's new data indicating for providing new insights, and this will help us to design effective internationals. And urgently required is the interdisciplinary research, political advocacy, and sustained global effort. But what is AMR? Refers to microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, viruses, and parasites being able to resist the effect of antimicrobial drugs that were earlier very effective. And due to this, even the treatment of very common infections like pneumonia is becoming challenging for us. Excessive use of antimicrobial drugs in both humans and perhaps more in the animal system. And WHO named in 2019 AMR as one of the top threats to global health, besides viral pandemics and climate change, and this burden of AMR is more in LMICs, the low and middle income countries, and there are estimated 495 million deaths associated with bacterial AMR in 2019, and this is going to increase dramatically in the time. And the ICMR has actually estimated that the mean total increment cost of treating any resistant infection is going to be 40% higher or even more than the non-resistant microorganisms. But we need to really do something about it. And this, on the other side, the WHO has come up with this slide of antimicrobials given to animals, the birds and all that. And they come into the drug-resistant bacteria, come into the animals, from the animals into your food table, into your dining table, and this cycle goes on. And the antimicrobials. And you see that the antibiotic overuse is more in animal system, about 2.5 times more in the animal system. And it is estimated that in the 5 million deaths, as I already talked about. Not only that, but this antimicrobial resistance is common in many diseases, not only just in infections, cancer, tackling the emerging threat of antifungal resistance to human health. You put into Google and say, ask AMR, you'll see thousands and thousands of articles now, each one of them talking about the impact on the other diseases. This was very important. Came last year, August 8, 2023, Hindustan Times published it on the, I think, third page. Antibiotic resistance increases with air pollution. A very important paper in Lancet, about 80-page long. You must read it. And they've talked about how does this happen, why the findings are important, the rising correlation. 480,000 premature deaths in 2018, but these deaths are going to be 840,000 by the time we reach 2050. This is the report from the European Environmental Agency, talking about harm to human health from air pollution in Europe. The pollution in Europe is much lower than what we see, but what we experience here. And the mortality due to exposure to PM 2.5 and NO2. This is in 2021. You can see that the number of the PM 2.5, 290,000 deaths due to ischemic heart disease and stroke and diabetes mellitus. Similarly for the NO2. So the greatest harm to human health is from ischemic heart disease for PM 2.5 and diabetes for NO2. This is a very important ICMR study that was done in 2022. 100,000 culture isolates were isolated from hospital-acquired infections, and there were 1,747 pathogens. E. coli, as we all expect, was the most common, but followed by many other infectious agents over there. But the study revealed that if 8 out of 10 patients with drug-resistant E. coli infection responded to carbapenem, that's the drug that we had, in 2017, that figure has dropped down to 6 out of 10 in 2022. The situation is even graver for Klebsiella pneumonia infection, where 6 out of 10 in 2017 dropped to 4 out of 10 in 2022. By the way, we have no new drugs coming in. So these are going to be problems. Are we fast returning to pre-antibiotic days? Now, globally, the resistance levels between 10% and 20% are considered to be alarming. Nevertheless, in some countries, including India, there is widespread and uncontrolled use of antibiotics, such that the patients with even more than 60% the resistance levels are being given those antibiotics, and they won't work. This is a recent study, what we call is a Chicago study, estimated reduced lifespan of nearly 12 years due to air pollution of Delhiites. I am a Delhiite. I'm not saying that you don't come to Delhi at all, but we need to really address these issues. The impact of PM 2.5 on global life expectancy is comparable to that of smoking and more than 3 times that of alcohol use. And we all the time keep saying, don't use that much of alcohol. Enjoy one drink, but don't let alcohol overpower you. Air pollution reduces average life expectancy by 5.3 years globally, but nearly 12 years in Delhi. That doesn't mean Kolkata is far away. I think every city. China has done very well. Well, what did they do? They started a war against pollution. And they started using what you can say danda. And their pollution levels have gone down. Same. US has done similarly. They sort of brought in a what is called the Clean Air Act. And if you look at the Air Quality Life Index, AQLI, shows that we're reducing global pollution to meet the WHO standards. Now, the WHO standards are what? PM 2.5 to be less than 5 micrograms. Keep that in mind. PM 2.5 has to be less than 5 micrograms. Delhi, our average particulate pollution, at least data of 2021 is 126.5. And somebody told me, oh, in 2022, it has gone down to 86. Where is 5? Our global standard, WHO standard is 5. We are talking of 126.5, 25 times higher than the WHO guidelines. And we talk about industrialization, economic development. We talk to our friends, oh, we have now many cars. Our number of cars have gone down sort of so much higher. I think if we keep on going like this, your next generation or next to next generation will be forced to go on bicycles rather than on cars. And there will be politicians will say, oh, we use odd and even. These are all nonsense things, actually. High levels of particular air pollution associated with breast cancer. Now, because of the time, I will not go into details of that, but it's sufficient for you to know that the breast cancer incidence is going high in terms of ER positivity or ER negativity. Lung cancer, you would anyway expect to be higher. Diabetes is in the air. This is a study done by my friend in Chennai, Dr. Mohan. And we're talking about why diabetes is in the air we breathe. Breathing polluted air could increase the risk, the type 2 diabetes. And this the study that you talked about, they have taken a very well-planned study, first study in India, and they talk about even diabetes is going up due to the pollution. So friends, we are actually entering into an era of what we call climate sensitive diseases or climate change medicine. Who knows, in 5 years time we might have in AIMS a Department of Climate Change medicine there. These are challenges to the healthcare system, host-related health impacts, air quality impacts, mental health. That's another very important area, such as depression, stress, and increasing. And minded causes also all of these two. Increase in zoonosis, food and vector-borne diseases, and shows it over there. As the climate change becomes very, very effective, you will have increase of zoonosis, new viruses transferring from animal system to the human system over there. So whereas this year, this last pandemic that we had last year, took 100 years to come, who knows, the next might come in much shorter time. Water-related illness, food safety and nutrition, vulnerable populations, we have to talk about. So the climate risks are appearing faster and will become more severe sooner than previously expected, and it will be harder to adapt with the increasing global heating, global warming. This is a paper which just came a few days ago. A local to global emissions inventory of macroplastic pollution. And I think here the INYAS and all of you in those important science subjects like physics, chemistry. By the way, when I was in my pre-medical, I was very scared of physics actually. And when I meet people here who said, I'm the head of the Department of Physics, I said, oh, so salute to you because physics always frightened me. But look at this, India and not China tops the global plastic emissions. It's also coming from your shirts. There are plastics in your shirts. And this study indicates, a study published in Nature reveals that India is the world's largest emitter of plastic waste, contributing about 20% of this. And this has direct effects on health. I don't want to go into the details of that. This is a paper that came up from WHO report. WHO published its first ever guidance document on antibiotic pollution from manufacturing. Imagine antibiotic pollution from manufacturing. You need a new guidance document of wastewater and solid waste management for antibiotic management. All those water that you use sort of flows into your rivers and canals and all that. And the antibiotics are coming off the land, you're drinking that. And that is also going to food. Emergence and spread of AMR caused by antibiotic pollution could undermine the effectiveness of antibiotic globally. It's not that you stop taking those unnecessary antibiotics, but they're coming from more ways than one. Pharmaceutical waste from antibiotic manufacturing could facilitate global emergence of drug-resistant bacteria and threaten human health. This is another area that Nishant and Chandra and others can write to IAP and another study and get funding for that. Consumers need to be informed on how to dispose of antibiotics when not being used, either because the course is finished or they expire. We people just throw these drugs into the waste paper. And where does it go? You know, the guy picks it up from your house, it goes into your irrigation, your plants, the vegetables and all the water that you take. So the critical role of climate change and environment in the development, transmission, and spread of AMR needs to be better understood. Now, these are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of UN you are all aware of. The number 3 is on health, but there are many others, which at least there are 6 more which are directly sort of related to health issues. But there is a slow progress. We keep talking about SDGs, the UN SDGs. Have we achieved something? This is a paper which came up in Nature just a month ago. No nation is doing enough for the world to achieve all such 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. The UN is already thinking of increasing this date to 2050 now, as well. So the nation score has been shown, which nation has done well, others have now done well. The nations in Europe are performing best so far, but work is needed on climate. Crises have reversed progress on peace and ending hunger in some low income countries. The challenges remain for responsible consumption and environmental goals as well as offshore impacts. So this is my last slide. We all talk about India at 2047. I don't know how many of we will be there. Dr. Khare, we wish you long life. I am 75 years young. I don't know whether I will be there to see your Viksit Bharat at 2047. But I can aim at, this is what you should be doing. This is our 2024 India. We need to have new policy on science and startups announced, and it was announced on August 24. Bio E3, as you all know, the biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment, and there are 6 thematic verticals on that. I have highlighted the precision biotherapeutics there, but for that to achieve, medical institutions alone cannot do anything. IITs and IISERs and things of that sort must get together. We must also do research industry conclaves. You know, we were growing in 70s and 80s as scientists, and I'm sure this is the truth. This must be true of others as well, of my age group. We were told to be away from industry, academia. never interact with industry. But I think today that thinking has to be reversed. We need to do more and more research in the industry conclaves, build technoparks, incubators. We keep talking about that we had so many startups in India, but where are the technoparks for them? We take pride in saying, oh, the 2004 there were only 100, now we have 130,000. That's true. But at least I mentored 3 startups. Some of them who are making manufacturing immunotherapy products in India, and the kind of hurdles they face. There are no technoparks, there are no GMP grade sort of parts for them to try their product. And sustainability and inclusivity is fine, but promote the young leadership. And that is why my sort of advice to you was that you people can go to schools. I think the school children would probably listen to you more than to us. वो सोचेंगे ये आगे क्या कह रहे हैं. I think the younger people, you are like them, you know. I mean, you will also feel more young actually when you interact with those school children. Promote young leadership, identify young leaders, and fast track their ideas into parallel tracks. And India's, of course, the overall R&D for SLP is still stagnant at 0.7. We need to increase it. When you compare yourself with the global average at 1.8, China is about 3.5. Where are we? But I think in terms of the quantum of money that we have, in a large budget, 0.7, then anyway, the amount is increasing every year, but we need to do more. But that can only happen if we also need is to enhance the private sector. Private sector must come in. You know, there's no embargo now. There's no sort of ban that you cannot interact with the private sector. Private sector can also come forward and do that. Thank you so much. I hope I finished.
Thank you, sir. So we can have the interactions in the lunch, sir. We are running short of time. Our second keynote lecture of the day was supposed to be given by Professor Gadadkar, but we missed his talk, as Nishant mentioned. But we have a message from him. I would request Anindita to read the message.
So Professor Gadadkar is quite unwell actually, so he couldn't travel, and today he had to go back to hospital for some health issues. So he couldn't even join online, but he sent a short message and I am happy to read it out. He writes, "It is my proud privilege and honor to greet INYAS on the eve of its 10th anniversary. I vividly remember the discussions and conversations in 2014, my first year as INSA president, when I was determined to set up a young academy. I can reveal now that there were many concerns and doubts about the soundness of this venture. I can also proudly say that all of those concerns have now been shown to have been unfounded by the glorious march of INYAS from success to success in the last 10 years. Every organization with life membership is bound to become top-heavy sooner or later. Every such organization, therefore, needs a dedicated young wing that will keep everyone young, on their toes, and optimistic about the future. INYAS has impressively fulfilled these roles for INSA. I take this opportunity to wish INYAS continued success and constant rejuvenation. Raghavendra Gadadkar, past president of INSA, on the occasion of the INSA Media Meeting 2020.
So now it's time to thank all those without whom this entire event would not have been possible. So I would request Chirasri to come up and propose the formal vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, respected faculty members, my INYAS colleagues, and dear students. So at the dawn of this exciting 3-day program of knowledge exchange sessions, and as we march on to a crescendo of more interesting sessions later on, I am happy and delighted to deliver the vote of thanks. So I'll start by thanking Professor Sunil Khare, Director of IISER Kolkata, Professor Shobhitra Babaji, the former Director of IISER Kolkata, for allowing us to host the event in the spring campus of IISER. My sincere thanks and gratefulness to all the distinguished guests who have spent their time all the way to travel to IISER over here and have enlightened us with the realism of sustainable development, of the importance of research networking, as well as research ethics, and also encouraging the achievements of INYAS. My sincere thanks and acknowledgement to all the non-INYAS speakers, the INYAS alumni, and the present members who will be enriching us with their valuable contributions in the field of sustainable development. And my special mention of Dr. Anandita Bhadro, the INYAS founder, chair, and alumni, without whose tireless efforts and support, we would not have been able to host the symposium here. Last but not the least, the funding sponsors from the various organizations like BRNS, SCRB, CSIR, and also the industry sponsors who have contributed behind the success of this particular symposium. And also the student members, the staff of IISER, and all the members of the organizing committee of INYAS, without whose efforts the event would not have been successful. They have really worked hard behind the curtain to make the event successful. So thank you.
Thank you, Chirasri. So before we break for lunch, I would like to invite all of you for a quick photo. Very nice.